I want to start this episode by saying I'm a count downer, and Jake, you're a count upper. What's that about?
I had a moment of hesitation when we were counting in to synchronize our audio tracks just a second ago, and I don't know what I ever did. Have I always done 1, 2, 3 or 3, 2, 1?
No, you're a 1, 2, 3er.
Okay. Yeah, I
I'm
feel
a 3,
like
2,
when
1er.
I think I'm 1, 2, 3 generally because of races. Like we always would go 1, 2, 3, go. Whereas like in TV and production, it is more 3, 2, 1. But I did that later in life, so I think I just kind of been ingrained.
Here's why you're both wrong. It's 5, 6, 7, 8.
5,
there you go.
7, 8.
True.
That's true. Okay, so from now on, when we synchronize and when we start the broadcast, it's gonna be and a 5 and a 6 and a 5, 6. I'm lost. I lost. I'm not a dancer.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, that was actually in a great syncopated rhythm.
That's a waltz. That's a waltz.
Yeah, 3, 4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Xander, you froze, but in a very cute. You were
Snapping.
Yeah.
We
had a internet trouble for a second.
Your frame rate has dropped to the point to where you're like halftime. Oh, there you're back.
Hey, this is all part of the video. Welcome to the Boldly Watch. I'm Ensign Becca.
I'm Commander Jake Michels.
And I'm Lieutenant Commander Xander. Oh, I've never said that all the way through. It rhymes.
Lieutenant Commander Xander.
Yeah, that
stuck
works.
in the holodeck. Let me out.
Oh no, we'll get to holodecks.
What simulation are you in?
The calisthenics one.
Did you see the screenshot of all the other options that they had?
There was like the Klingon ceremonial.
The Rite of Ascension. That was from when he had to do the pain stick walk.
Yeah.
You mean the ceremonial cattle prodding?
Yeah, I was wondering if she's going to accidentally go into that one.
Ooh, well, that would
accidentally. She's into it.
Yeah, she's into it for sure.
Yeah.
Wow, who is she, and what are we, and why are we together?
We're here to talk about Star Trek: The Next Generation, and specifically this episode titled "The Emissary." The Enterprise crew discovers a Klingon sleeper ship whose occupants don't know the Federation and Klingons are at peace. At least now, after having watched the episode, that doesn't feel like the synopsis of this episode.
Nope.
That's the D plot.
Yeah, that really is the B plot. So I'm going to try that again and not rely always on Memory Alpha to be accurate on this, because in reading that, I don't feel that's really it. It's more that the Enterprise encounters a coffin-sized probe, which emerges a potential emissary and mate for Lieutenant Worf.
Jake, you're a great writer.
Thank you.
Great work. A+.
As far as improvising something to sound as if it's been pre-written, that's a more difficult task.
Yeah, it is difficult. I'm
going to give you a B plot plus.
That's fine. I will take that. I'm actually was thinking it was lower, so I'm grateful.
No, you got there. Wow. I'm in love.
Though, like we saw something that we have discussed previously on this podcast. We see Geordi cheating at poker.
Oh, true. Okay, any episode that begins with poker, is going to be a good one. It did make me think there would be more data in it than there was, but sure. I'm always down for a data-heavy episode.
We didn't get to see, I distinctly remember from my childhood him doing some very quick shuffling at some point. Like maybe they sped up the camera. That was normal speed he did today, right? It was just really good.
I think they'll get into the gimmick of the poker thing, and they'll try different ways to, like, how can we make it weird this time?
I think it was 1.125 speed.
I think that's just how you watch it, Becca.
I bend.
I bend.
I acquiesce to that, or make compact, or capitulate.
I like that he's trying to make up his own slang. That's great. He's like, he's like, okay, what's a synonym? That's probably a thing. If not, I will create it.
Yeah,
just shut him down.
But we do, from the beginning, get the sense that Worf is going on a journey this episode, because we realize he's the Iceman, cool under pressure, always winning when it comes to poker, at least with the poker face aspect of it. Right. And there's some flirtation with Pulaski and Worf in the poker scene as well. Did you notice? She calls him
I didn't see
handsome.
flirtation.
This is the second time you've said this about these two, and both times Xander and I have been like, oh, really?
I didn't see flirtation. I think it's like fun adversarial.
Same, that's what I thought.
Oh, buddy,
But I wanna-
pal. Could be.
But what do you think, Becca? I want to hear it.
Their relationship is becoming more defined.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I can see how in other posts, Pulaski would be like the Worf of the ship, in that she could be seen as cold or unfeeling or a harsh.
I don't know what you mean.
Her demeanor. But in this sense,
on your guys' opinions on this.
No. She could
it's
be
irony. It's
that
irony.
way.
Verbal irony.
And
because I think Pulaski is a cold-hearted nightmare.
No, she's delightful, and I think this is the when you put two standoffish characters together, inevitably you're going to get conflict, and it's coming out on the poker table as opposed to like fists, which I would.
I would like to see that too.
Mm-hmm.
No, not Pulaski style. I think if she really wanted to take somebody down, it would just be a little.
Yeah, that's
she would
very
do something
true.
to the T.
Yeah, never trust the T.
All right. Well, besides us theorizing about her roofing Worf, we have some enigmatic orders, which are that we go to see. What are the enigmatic orders? We have to
There's
check
some
out
commander lady who comes on the view screen and is like, "Yo, Picard, I got a thing. You got to do the thing. It'll be clear once you thing the thing."
Yeah, it was so vague.
Yeah,
and everybody
Picard,
like, vague.
If it's vague, then it's serious. Like they call it out on it.
Yeah, that's a good way to actually start the episode. Is like we're up for a challenge if they're going to be mysterious about it. Engage.
What we learn is that there is a probe vessel headed towards the Enterprise that they think a person is on, because I guess they were told by mysterious commander lady there's some sort of emissary coming, and they can see that it's only 2 meters long, not tall enough for a person to stand. Maybe you could put one person in there if you took out the life support. A little wild.
Didn't they also say it was capable of warp 9? Did I hear that right?
That is the reason why someone would be sent in this probe vessel, so they could get there fast, because it is a time-sensitive matter.
Oh, we'll just ignore the warp 9 and just say like warp 8.5 or something.
Wait, why? I thought you could go to warp 10.
You can't go to all the way to warp 10. You can go to like 9.999, but I think like warp 9 it might like disintegrate or something.
I don't know. I think that was a line they kind of threw in there, and then like every Star Trek nerd was just like.
Maybe they caught it later, because when they're intercepting in the transport this probe vessel, which comes across like a coffin, Picard says speed up to 8.5 warp speed, and we're going on a trajectory that is parallel with the probe. So I guess you've got to be, moving at the same speed in order to transport successfully. New rule.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, that
especially if transporting at warp. That's dangerous.
Well, it's like jumping on and off a train car.
Yeah, you have to be at the same speed, otherwise the velocity and momentum is going to get someone squelched.
Squelched. That's a spacey term.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the train car is a coffin. This is terrifying.
Right.
Like, who wants to be hurtled through space in that, where you're just like with a mask over your face?
Klingons don't mind difficult situations. And we meet Kalar, the most mid-Atlantic speaking Klingon you'll ever meet.
Well, she's half human. You can't blame her.
And then we find out that. All right. Do we want to talk about the brown face now or later?
When I guess now, apparently. Yeah, now.
Okay.
What's up?
I don't know. I just was like, later there's some romantic scenes, and I thought, oh, what a beautiful representation of black love on the screen right here. And then I said, hold on, let me look up this actress. She's a white woman, redheaded, and I think that, Xander, you can speak to how Discovery has dealt with Klingons being cast as people of color if they're going to paint their faces brown. And her performance is incredible. Their chemistry is great. It's just her face is painted brown, and as a person with white skin, I don't really I want to I don't know, we all are white, so I want to bring it up, bring attention to it. I think it is a thing that as a society no longer is cool, but they were trying to just tell a story about Klingons and they had established this is the way they look, maybe should have cast an actress of color in that role.
I agree. And this is also reflecting back on original series where it was a version without like any sort of augmentation to like the foreheads or anything like that. It was just white people in some brown makeup and affectations and things like that for some of it.
They have eyebrow stuff, or was that the Romulans?
The Romulans had like the big eyebrow thing, but I think they would modify, like have facial hair, things like that. But you know, I feel like this was TNG's version of trying to acknowledge like these Klingons that they're even encountering are from the past. So
yeah.
It's sort of like bringing that up in a way. But I agree with you, Becca. I think that at the time it was trying to be more progressive and it failed. And it would not fly today.
So are they on Discovery only casting... Are they casting all different racial types for Klingons now?
Well, in Discovery, there's a different sort of design to the Klingon makeup as well.
Which is what?
Well, they're like bluish gray type of thing. Like one of the main Klingons, that's the whole storyline, is it's sort of like an albino Klingon. Yeah, it gets kind of complicated, and the first couple of seasons of Discovery.
Interesting. I hadn't even seen these guys.
Great. Yeah. The performances of the Klingons is great. It's tough. It's
that's interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
This is something that Star Trek has had to deal with from its inception, because it's got these roots in the 60s, you know.
Right. Well, then I thought I can't remember if we read about it in the writer's Bible episode or somewhere else, but like I recall them actually having to deal with that by changing their makeup in this, and like regarding it not as like a brown tone, but as like the alien tone, because they cast so many people of different ethnicities in Klingon roles. Because I remember also in the movies, like Christopher Lloyd played a Klingon. Who was the Christopher Plummer played one, and his was like General Chang, and he had actually a very like almost Asian affectation to him, which is definitely, that one's crossing a different line for sure.
Yeah.
But his makeup was also really amazing. But like, I don't know. That's interesting, Becca. I've definitely thought about this in TV shows in the past where they do it. But with Aliens, I always thought it was a little different. But this is a fair point, especially because she's actually played someone else in this series. Do you guys recognize this actress?
No.
She was the Vulcan scientist from Schizoid Man, Dr. Pilar.
Cool. Well, she did a great job there too.
Yeah, I thought she was great.
It was part of an away team that went down.
Yeah. She's like this tall, well-postured Vulcan. She was great. She will also go on to play a couple of characters in, I believe, Enterprise and Voyager. In Voyager, she's the female Q, and in Enterprise, she's Tara, the first female Andorian.
Wow. Yeah,
she's an amazing actress.
Yeah, I thought she did a great job with this.
I don't know. I think that this is just a learning lesson of like because originally, and the reason why they gave them forehead ridges is because they very clearly saw that the 60s version was explicitly blackface, and that's not cool. And so when they came to this, they were like, well, now we've established that they have a more alien look, but they still are humanoid with brown skin. So I don't know. I'm sure people on Patreon will have a lot of thoughts about this and, discuss.
For the Patreon, for those of you that aren't Patreon members, guess what? You get to see unedited and uncut videos of our recordings, and you get to participate in the awesome discussions that occur only there. Additionally, you'll get access to our Patreon only episodes. From Season 1, we discussed the writer's Bible, the story Bible for Star Trek The Next Generation when they first started producing the show. And for Season 2, we're going to be having the trial of Catherine Pulaski, where Xander and Becca
Dr.
debate
Catherine
this character.
Pulaski, thank you very much.
Yeah, Doctor, absolutely. Well, we should also mention all of her books, too, if we're going to go that far. I mean,
author of The Mind and You, Extensive Studies on Mr. Data.
So you can check out our Patreon and become a subscriber of any level and get access to that as well.
And let me just give A plot plus pluses to Nightcat and Griffin Hawk for always giving a thorough commentary on each episode, which we very much appreciate.
Thank you.
I enjoy seeing those email notifications, like when like they've contributed it again. I was like, oh my gosh, there's 3 paragraphs of why this is great.
It's great.
Yep. Someday we'll have to publish them all into a compendium of Nightcat and Griffin Hawk's reactions to Boldly Watch.
To boldly comment.
Yeah, for the timed capsule. Yeah.
Right.
So Kalar, is that her name?
Kalar.
I feel like it was pronounced multiple ways in this episode.
Germany.
I mean, Klingon spelling's tricky.
Yeah. She immediately recognizes Worf, and Worf recognizes her.
They have a history.
In the old... Yeah, they have very much a history.
I wonder where and when this history began, where there were many things left unrequited. What we know about Kalar is, aside from her mid-Atlantic accent, she has a Klingon father and a human mother, and a lot of Klingon anger.
Well, as for an emissary, she doesn't seem to be very diplomatic. She's just like, we gotta kill him. That's like their only plan.
Yeah, well, I think this was a really interesting conundrum that she brings up. The mission that the Enterprise has to go on, I think, is really fascinating.
Once again, a super old ship that didn't get the memo, but this time they were cryogenically sleeping. So we haven't really discussed what the mission is. Basically, there was a Klingon war, as we all know. You know, we've heard the tales, and that was resolved, and they became part of the Federation, and that's why everybody's friends now. But if Klingons have been in the cryosleep for 75 years, then they are unaware that the war is over and will unlikely believe the humans that they encounter when they wake up, and they're in range of several Federation bases. So gotta kind of handle this delicately and discuss the options with the help of Kalar the Emissary.
On top of that, Klingon vessels are on the way, but they cannot get there fast enough before the Klingon vessel will awaken and potentially attack the Federation.
Oh, I missed that plot point. Okay, I was wondering. I was like, why don't we just have the Klingons deal with this? Because they need a friendly face.
The Farang is coming.
Yeah. So they have to, like, the Enterprise is the only option. It's the closest starship, and it's the one that has the most power.
But we won't really even deal with any of this until Act 4. Like, everything else is just like her and Worf, right?
Mm-hmm. And Kalar and Deanna Troi have an automatic friendship built on the fact that they both come from the intersection between two cultures of human and something else. And when Kalar was like, you got the worst of both worlds too, huh? Deanna said, I like to think of it as the richness and diversity of two worlds. And she's like, yeah, no, I got a monster inside me and it's all Klingon.
And then smashes a table.
Smash tables! I think that it should be Enterprise policy, maybe Federation policy. When you have Klingon guests, you don't put them in the room with glass furniture. Just a thought.
Yeah, that's a great policy. Maybe, everything should be plastic.
Any warrior, or stone, replicated stone. I think that we're done with plastic in the future.
Yeah, but it's like a recyclable plastic, or like you can demolecularize it or something.
Well, all of it is recyclable with a replicator.
There we go.
I'm reading A Promised Land and just read chapters on the BP oil spills. So petroleum should stay in the ocean is what I'm thinking. And I think that the Federation figured that one out. Plastic's no longer a thing.
Petroleum should stay under the ocean, right? Not in it.
Under it, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Becca's putting all this petroleum in the ocean, you guys.
No, we just gotta pipe it in. It's fine. That's where it came from. I've been going to Santa Monica every day and throwing any plastic I could find, just as far as I can throw it.
That woman at the gas station just pointing the hose towards the beach.
It's costing a fortune.
It's worth it. I'm saving the planet.
So she decides to try and get to know. She tries to get out her anger at Troy's suggestion by getting some exercise on the holodeck.
Hold on. We haven't even seen the first confrontation with her and Worf yet, which requires costume change.
Yeah, the costume. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
She calls it out. Sorry, I had to make myself beautiful in an all red warrior suit, jumpsuit.
And he's not looking at all. He didn't take a
I am familiar with your appearance.
Yeah.
I feel like that suit could have been in a store in 1987, and the suit was just called The Future.
And it would be mine.
You can have that one. I'm going to take her next outfit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh man, all of her outfits were great. Well,
So
the first one was kind of whatever, it was pajamas, but like everything else.
Oh,
Wait, let's talk about they're alone. She's trying to make it like, hey baby, what's up? Haven't seen you in a while, 6 years ago. And he is full on Worf. Honestly, I can't imagine how he was any different 6 years ago, but let's go with it. And then they're talking a little business of like, actually, we're here for a mission. Can we do the mission, please? After Worf had asked Picard if he could not be involved for personal reasons, and Picard was like, business reasons? No. And Worf withdrew his request.
Business professionally.
Like, I get it, it's a TV show, but I did think this was an interesting like managerial choice of like that there's a conflict and he did this intentionally for Worf to like work this out. But when there's so much at risk, it's like, do you really want to work on Worf's feelings like right now, or can we just sort of work?
A guy
on
who's
this
notoriously
later?
not great with feelings,
right?
I don't know. I commend the decision. He needs Worf to grow, and also the two of them are the most familiar with Klingon culture on the ship, except maybe Data, but that's an analytical sense, and they are the ones that need to work together, and Worf needs to be able to overcome that, which
That's
Picard
true.
knows he's capable of, because dude can't compartmentalize. Have you seen him play poker?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And then it just turns into foreplay of them yelling at each other, and that's when she goes to smash the table.
Right.
Yeah.
I do like the relationship that forms between Deanna and her, because I think that there was a bond there that went beyond just the base cultural connections, but also they became friends.
Yeah.
And we got to see
Girl,
that
I get
happen.
you. She's walking down the hallway and she's like, ooh, feelings coming from here. Let me
Yeah.
go. Hey, we have a holodeck for this, right? You can bust shit up all you want. It's just like, do it in virtual reality. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I forgot she gives him that very brief meeting adjourned. Like definitely felt like it had to be the last thing to say before you left the fight.
I liked that the way the dialogue was written in this fight, because she's appealing to him on an emotional level, saying there is no other option. We got to shoot the Klingon ship. And Worf has a great line, which is, my experiences have taught me that there's always more than one solution, which is a thing, Picard has very much that point of view. And it's cool that he's instilled that in all of his commanding officers. And then she's like, you want to talk in our fancy Federation lingo? Oh, I'm game. But I will do it at an elevated volume. Good day, sir.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
This is also a direct reflection, because Kalar now is season 1 Worf, who would be like, oh, there's a Klingon vessel. There's no other option. We must destroy it. Klingons are vicious. They're terrible. Like, they cannot understand. There's no other options. And that's how she sees like a part of herself, and is also how she's approaching this. Mm-hmm. So I think Worf can see a lot of his growth in comparison to someone who's, coming at this from the Klingon perspective.
Star Trek does this a lot too, where they take a lot of people who are born from two different races or cultures and are like, have to force them to live in their dichotomy and address them from both sides. And Worf always kind of was that, despite being a full Klingon, but he's in a human atmosphere, right?
Yeah. Adopted with a white family. I think Star Trek, one of their main goals in their writing is to bring up difficult issues through an extended metaphor.
Yeah.
And I think, sometimes it misses the mark and doesn't stand the test of time, but a lot of times it does. Mm-hmm. Unless you're doing Irish people.
Yeah. Oh my God.
There's a lot of interesting character analyzation though that happens in Voyager, because B'Elanna Torres is also half human, half Klingon, and gets also, spoilers a little bit, into a relationship with a human. And what does that mean? What does that mean for their offspring and that relationship as well? So I definitely recommend checking out Voyager. That's my favorite Trek.
I just remembered she was always my absolute favorite on Voyager. I find her so attractive as a Klingon.
Did you watch Voyager, Becca?
As a kid.
Oh, see, this is the one, Voyager, just as an aside, is one I never really saw. I think I saw like maybe 2 or 3 episodes of it.
I'm sorry, you need to learn about Captain Janeway.
Yes.
Catherine
absolutely.
Janeway.
It was at the time in my life where I was getting out of Star Trek for a time where I was a little more self-conscious about my nerdery because I was around like high school and stuff. So I wasn't actively doing that. But then now I'm very eager to watch it with both of you because I know also that there are episodes that are really amazing and there are a series of episodes that are really not. And so that dichotomy I'm very excited to explore.
Okay, so it originally aired from my ages when I was 6 to 11, and my mom watched it. So
I see.
It's in there, but yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm excited to revisit.
Well, speaking of revisit, we get
with all of you. Meeting adjourned.
Speaking of revisiting, we go back to the holodeck and to Worf's calisthenics routine.
Okay, now we need to talk about her outfit. Okay, so it's the same square shoulders, jumpsuit, but this time it's like got a pink tiger stripey kind of thing, but more warrior than just pink tiger stripes. So badass. I'm getting one.
Well, in the late 80s, early 90s, if you hear calisthenics, of course you think aerobics or jazzercise. And so this is the perfect outfit, not knowing what the program is going to be.
Yeah, it definitely felt like it was going to be a aerobics kind of feel to it at first with the style. But then you remember that it's all combat. It's all fighting monsters.
And we've seen this before with
the Power Glove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the Power Glove.
Yeah, just reach for your Infinity Gauntlet oven mitt. And cut to new scene.
Oven mitt with tire chains.
And we have go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that we see Worf going to the bridge and also being told he needs to relax and get it together because the Iceman is melting.
And so
Frosty the Snowman, I know how this ends.
Well, he goes down to the holodeck and finds Kalar just finishing up only level 1, right? And approaches her and throws her a sword, right?
Yeah. I thought they were going to fight. Turns out going to level 2, fighting new adversaries. And Klingons were the originators of BDSM culture.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, they just sort of hold hands too hard. You got to be careful, especially when you have acrylics on. It's just
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh yeah, the nails can really bite in, and it gets bloody.
Yeah. Also, they raided a party city, and they're like, "Oh, remember this program? More Party City monsters."
Yeah, get the rubber masks on.
Yeah.
I think that was actually the blood thing was improvised on set when they were shooting. I think so. Yeah, they were
cool.
One of the set designers we should do that, or our production designer said we should do that to kind of increase the intensity. I think they wanted to maybe break a bone too, but they thought that may be too much.
That might have been too much.
Walking around with the cast for the rest of the episode.
Just a public safety announcement. Don't creep on other people's holodeck programs. Don't just go in there.
Oh my gosh.
She could have been doing anything
Especially anybody from Klingon culture, because they are notorious for not calming down quickly.
Yeah.
In fact, she lunged at him at the end, right?
Oh yeah. She turned and she almost attacked. She was in fight mode. I can't remember. Did we just see him walking up, or did we see him observing the program?
There's a dirty shot where you see his profile creeping on her from
dirty
the
shot of a dirty boy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess you need to remember to lock your holodeck door.
That's true. Yeah,
Computer.
Well, as the chief of security, Worf has the codes for all of that. So Worf either did a huge breach of security or she left it unlocked, which is on her.
I think she left it unlocked because she wants
him. Oh, no, I'm playing your program. What could happen? And then he passes her the sword, and she does the very much stage combat of here I come. 5, 6, 7, 8 and swings.
I actually thought Worf was smiling during his fight scenes.
Yeah,
I don't know
probably.
if you noticed it. He was kind of grinning a lot.
I think that's because that's in character. That's his greatest joy as a Klingon is in battle, and the only time he smiles.
I'll take it that way.
And then they do a very subtle thing, cut to ad after their hands are bleeding from some acrylics, and then the line, "Some calisthenic programs are better than others." Really smooth. Nobody has any idea what happened if they're under the age of 13.
I wanted someone to be buckling up a uniform.
Yeah.
Like Worf just at the end, like a zipper.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
just
hot.
to suggest, because otherwise he was like in this crouch Spider-Man position. I was like, what just happened?
You don't do that after sex?
Well, I mean, depends.
Yeah. The good stretch.
Do you prefer to talk much and say little, or to say nothing at all? I think that's clear what each of us would choose. We have a podcast, so
yeah.
Good night.
yeah. Mating rituals are very archaic for Klingons. Turns out, no sex before marriage. So,
I see. Yeah.
Well, I feel like have they had sex before, or was this
No.
really the first time? I guess he did say because we've made it, now we are husband and wife.
She said something to the effect of, "We should have done that 6 years ago."
Right. So I thought, we should have done that 6 years ago.
Now,
got it.
We also have to take this like with a grain of salt, because this is Worf's version of Klingon culture. And again, he grew up away from Klingon culture, reading about it and enforcing these ideas of honor and commitment. And we've seen this before, it might not necessarily be the case with modern
It's like
Klingons.
he's only watched reality TV show versions of life, and so that's what he understands it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Klingon book smart, not Klingon street smart.
Exactly. Yeah. So this could be just a belief that is held by Worf or by like these ancient traditions that he thinks are still upheld.
Yeah, and these traditions are kind of unclear, because he's like, okay, if I yell out this phrase, she's now my wife, and she's like, I have veto power, and it's like, what is going on with this tradition?
Yeah.
And thankfully she does, because she's like, no, I'm gonna do my own thing, and so he says, yeah, absolutely, sure. But he's really upset about it, and he's upset that she's not obeying their traditions, I guess. Is that what it
I would
boils down to?
imagine that this is the equivalent of like being in a crowded restaurant and someone going down on one knee and popping a ring out, and then like the person being proposed to could be taken surprise and being like, what is happening? What are you doing? No. You realize, you see the signs of the ritual happening, even though if you think it doesn't apply to you, everyone else is watching, there's a whole thing happening, and you have to give an answer. That's where I think the shouting and the response would come from. Like, she's seeing the thing happening and she's like, I'm not participating.
Well, they didn't really have what's the equivalent of a prenup, a pre-fuck agreement that was like, okay, so hold on, pause for a sec. We're not going to abide by the ancient rituals of Klingon culture, and you're going to make some growly noise, and then we're mated.
Right. Also, ouch, my palm.
Yeah, she's a modern woman, and her half-human side says, "I don't need to abide by all of these strict cultural adherences." And she's like, "Is honor all you care about?" Is a great line she has. And like Worf, he just tries so hard. Feelings are so tough for him, and he doesn't really know what to do with these ones.
Yeah, he was remarkably mature about their past. He was like, we weren't ready. We lacked, what did he say? We lacked the commitment. And she's like, perhaps we lacked the courage as well, which is obviously a shot at him and probably a fair one. But like, I liked how he analyzed it of like, we weren't ready, but then he's immature about this situation now. That was kind of a weird dichotomy, because you're right, Becca. He's not good with feelings.
Yeah.
And then think this could go to the skills of a counselor. With Troy, you can see that this is probably something he's had to deal with in the past, maybe inhibiting his duties. And so it could be something that he's had to talk about. Also enforcing why Troy might be close to her, is being like, oh, you are who he was talking about. You know what I mean?
Well, therapy's good for everybody.
But he's been prepped for the past, but he doesn't know how to encounter the things happening in the present.
Well, his reaction is to bring a chaperone to his next meeting with her, and poor Data gets dragged along and she's so emotional. She asks a great question of Data, which is, whose behavior do you find more perplexing, the Klingon or the human?
This is the second time in like 3 episodes Data has been used to cock block, right? Because Picard used him with Loaxana.
Yeah.
I love how he's really the ice man. He puts the ice on all romantic situations.
Right?
Reciting analytical data is the #1 mood killer. Who are you going to call?
Data.
Yeah. At the moment, it is difficult to choose, is his great response. And then we got to start figuring out B-plot stuff. So there's options of if they're still asleep, then we could beam on over there, mess with their computers, keep them sleeping, which Geordi's totally capable of. But if they already woke up early or some of them are up,
don't know.
Problems.
Yep.
And it doesn't really feel like there's much of a debate. Like, she just is very firm about, like, look, we have to take them out. And everybody's like, well, and then doesn't really offer a better solution because it feels like they're hamstrung. Like, as soon as they encounter them, they're going to open fire. There's no hailing frequency chance or anything.
I feel like this is the writers sort of taking the chance to really hammer some of these themes home of, you know, saw her in the beginning and she's like, Klingons are dangerous, you must kill them. And our initial reaction will be, yeah. And then we see this develop and you see that she has this sort of like self-loathing part of her in her Klingon heritage. And she's reflecting this on the Klingon society. So she is taking this firm ground of there is no reasoning with them. This, I know this lives inside of me. So in her admitting to that they can be reasoned with, it's her admitting to herself that maybe it's not all bad.
And she also needs to be in therapy.
Yes.
I mean, therapy's good for everybody. Yes. So yeah.
Self-acceptance, baby.
One extra, well, not extra. I think he's he has a line or two. Do you guys recognize Diedrich Bader in the background?
Was that Oswald from the Drew Carey show?
Yeah. Also, more recently on Veep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Diedrich
What's his
Bader.
name?
I'll put a link to him in our description of the podcast. Also put it in our private chat right now, Becca. You'll recognize his face as soon as
what a cutie pie.
He was a sweet little baby
especially
in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You might know him from Office Space as well.
Yeah, Custom Tactical Officer Diedrich Bader has an action figure.
Does he really?
It'll go with your O'Brien one.
I was gonna say you can have a lot more role-playing options now.
I think O'Brien was in this episode too, right? Yes, at the end, because he gets dismissed.
Yeah, and at the beginning too, he opens up the old probe.
The old probe opening.
The old probe. So the Klingons appear and predictably open fire, but it deals like minimum damage or something. Is it that their weapons are like surprisingly outclassed or something?
Yeah, the shields.
Well, they're 75 years old. You'd think technology advanced. And I imagine, given the yellow alert, that shields up are on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Good guess.
There was also, we need to note, sweet 80s workout music as they're doing like a walk and talk power from the conference room to the bridge.
Oh, it's like, yeah. The music was very present in this episode. When she was marching back from her little frustrating meeting with Worf, there was also some crazy like synth town going on as well.
You can see the beginnings of it that they're trying to think of musical themes and for like these types of episodes, because like if it's a more medical based one, you hear that type of music, or if it's more like
wait, what is medical music?
You know, the the very pulse, like quickening type of.
It kind of like emulates the sounds you would hear in an emergency room of like the beeping machines and stuff like that. It kind of has that intensity. You definitely hear it like on ER or like,
as opposed to like a sweeping soap opera love dramatic theme,
strings and grandiosity. It's more like precision and direct rhythm.
Nice. You guys sound like professionals.
Kind of.
5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
And then Worf decides to try a gambit. Right? We have an idea how to talk these guys down, which of course are not going to listen to any Federation folks.
Roll for disguise.
Yeah. I love those.
Thank goodness they can replicate clothing.
And they wear them well. Those are badass looking uniforms they both got on. I love Worf's outfit.
Worf has the super genius idea to dress up as a Klingon captain of the Enterprise. Mm-hmm. So good.
And convince them.
Explains the situation to these newly woken Klingons because they see an actual Federation starship captained by what they believe by a Klingon.
They may be woken, but they're not woke. To the fact that war is over. Have you lost your mind?
What is it good for? Huh?
Worf does some very convincing acting here. He sells it. This is how he would act if he were a Klingon captain. Powerful and lots of insults. I like trust your eyes, or are they still stuck? Is your mind still stuck in its long slumber? Stick this.
Well, he wisely also gives them the picture of a future where the Klingons clearly won the war, right? Because they're the commanders on a starship that's clearly a Federation design. So that makes it even more convincing of because he wants to believe that after a cold sleep. That's a nice thing to come home to.
Side note, I wonder if they looked at some dailies and were like, ooh, maybe it is weird how dark her makeup is, because it felt like in this bridge scene, Kalar had lighter makeup.
I found
her
head ridges to be really inconsistent. I definitely saw some of the lines sometimes, but that's always hard with people with guest appearances and intense makeup. It's hard to get them right. Whereas Worf's, they had to dial in for all of season 1, and now they got it perfected.
And we're viewing it differently than how it aired as well. It wasn't in HD.
There were some very close-up shots. I was like, okay, everybody's got a layer or 3 on right now.
Yeah, every time you see Data's every pore,
right?
It's always interesting.
One of the contacts is just slightly off. He just looks sort of fish-eyed, and I'm like, oh, we weren't meant to see it this close.
I wonder if they'll ever put options on streaming services to be old
Vaseline.
Version. Have what was broadcast. See what that would be like.
Oh man, right to their contact request email address. There's something there.
Well, it works. The Worf doesn't lie. He simply hid the truth from you in both of these situations.
We also see a callback to the poker situation of if anyone on the ship is going to have a bluff against an enemy, Worf is the Iceman, and so it's a direct use of the skills he's developed playing poker.
Yeah, they've definitely done a good job of tying themes into all aspects of an episode. I feel like the writers are finally really doing a good job with that, as opposed to let's do a little bit of this, a little bit of this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it works for this one, and then I think they get attached to that poker idea a little too much. But it's good for this one.
And then the romantic conclusion of the episode is with just the two of them, Worf and Kalar, in the transporter bay. And she almost just leaves with them in a huff and turns and is like, God damn you, Worf. You were just you weren't going to stop me dramatically and grab me and kiss me, and what is wrong with Klingons and their romantic culture?
Right. Yeah, and I think there are a lot of good arguments with this one. Not even arguments, but this discussion. And it comes full circle into, we can have a relationship as consenting adults, but Worf is this is just what I believe, and this isn't going to work for me in the place that I am now, and I feel like that is an adult way to look at it.
Yeah, he's holding his line. She's like, hey, I'm open to it. I just, I'm half human, so I need a little more courtship, buddy. If you could work with me on that. Speaking of close up in HD, really noticing the eyebrow work on Worf's makeup, though. And that is beautiful.
I think that was specifically for the captain bit that he had especially
those wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, very feathery, from the arch and flowing out, beautiful eyebrow hairs. And then he says, Kalar, I will not be complete without you. And she's like, okay.
That's pretty good. I'll take that.
It's working. And then we end on this look from Worf that's a total smolder of oh yeah, I got her now.
She'll be back.
Yeah. She even says she'll be back. She says, maybe next time I come visit, you can't get rid of me so easy.
Ooh, well, we'll have to see in a future episode. I have to ask, though, if he did his eyebrows in between the whole Klingon bluff moment, is he in the bridge bathroom, at the mirror, and she's helping him?
One more minute. I just got to
hold on, I got to get it right. They're not balanced. The left one's longer.
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
That's what the bathroom on the bridge is for.
Yeah. You know what? They're sisters, not twins.
Yeah. Exactly. You just got to remember that. They'll never look the same.
Well, that was a lot of fun. And next week, we're going to have even more fun because it's technically the last real episode of season 2 for us.
You keep saying that, and I don't know what that means.
I'll clarify, but let me tell you what the next episode is. It's Peak Performance. A Starfleet wargame simulation pitting Picard against Riker is interrupted by an attack from the Ferengi.
Oh, spoilers.
Yeah.
I know. Well, that's the way they describe it. I will stop.
Memory Alpha, you really effed up on that one. What about suspense?
I also wonder, like, I don't know if people that write Memory Alpha or like make the entries are actually writing those, or if they're taking them from the synopsis of like what is published, like in the TV guide back in. Yeah. And sometimes they wrote those out that way. Yeah. But I'll start writing our own for season 3.
Welcome to Boldly Watch. It's our Memory Alpha criticizing podcast.
I only have respect and admiration for those people. For sure.
People that put together everything that we use.
I crib it for sure. What I'm saying is that the episode after that is called Shades of Grey, and it's actually a clip show, which we talked about before, is a collection, a montage almost of different sections from previous episodes. There were
squeeze out a bonus episode without having to shoot a whole lot of extra footage.
Correct. It's when they need to do another episode and don't have the budget to really do a full one as well.
How many shades of gray could they afford?
Not 50.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, I think, is still record an episode about it, but make it a bonus episode for our Patreon.
Uh-oh. You just pissed off so many podcast-only listeners. They are fuming, and a table is about to get smashed.
Well, take a trip down to the holodeck and calm down, and then come back and become a Patreon subscriber so you can support everything we do at Good Time Society.
There we go. Yay, make sure to wear your calisthenics outfit too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
photo shoot idea, Patreon exclusive content.
So we will definitely see you guys next week for peak performance. And on that note,
warp speed.
Warp speed?
You had no idea it was coming.